and another Let's Talk with the Doc. I'm excited to be here tonight, as always, and it is no exception. And I am glad to have Marsha, Sister Marsha, with me as we're gonna continue to pursue her story and see what we can glean from it because it has been said and anticipated that her story is exceptional. The part one we had, we were just kind of probing through her youthful days, and now we're gonna pick up in the adult days of her life. So when I come back, I will be talking to Sister Marsha Blagrove. So stay right there, my friends. We're gonna have a conversation tonight. ORB Ministry presents Let's Talk with the Doc. Grace Without Borders podcast. A thought for you. Ask Pastor. And a whole lot more. You never know what's next or who will join the conversation. All right, all right. So here we are. Here we are on Let's Talk, and let me welcome Sister Blagrove to another part two of Let's Talk with the Doc. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to have you. And how have you been?
Thank you so much for having me, Bishop Beckford. It's been a interesting time. To God be the glory. Um, I think I've been refilled just our past week, enjoying the International Assembly. It was an awesome one, and the mission that we are all on is to do gospel, heal broken hearts, and trust that better it gets better. Better is coming.
Better is coming. Better is coming indeed. And that's part of the story of the General Assembly. And I must attest to that. This was one amazing assembly. And boy, it was a good one. It was
Well,
really a good one, and I'm glad that I was there and to experience it. And sorry for those who only watch it in the distance, and if those who watch it in the distance thought it was good, just imagine being in the room. I must also give a shout out. I must also give a shout out. And before I get used to it, I must give a shout out to the many people that I have met in the assembly who know Let's Talk with the Doc.
yes.
I'm surprised how many friends and fans there were of Let's Talk with the Doc, and I want to give a special shout out to all of those people that I met from Canada. I
Yes.
I didn't have a clue that Let's Talk with the Doc have so many friends and fans in Canada. So I want to give a shout out to the Canada crew and all of those wonderful people I met. I met a young lady from Jamaica. Her last name is Smith, and I met her in the elevator, and she was calling, mentioned Dr. Beckford, and I'm saying, I look at her stranger. Who are you from? Who are you? She's from Jamaica, and then she's kind of quietly saying, "Well, you're famous. You're a famous person, and so you got to deal with it. People you get famous, so you got to deal with it." So she was very calm in saying that. All right, but great assembly, and thank God that I was part of it. All right, let's get back
And,
to you.
and yes, Bishop, just a nugget because you are a popular, you're international, you're on Facebook. When you don't, when persons come up to you and say, "Hi, Dr. Beckford," just say, "Hi, how are you?"
Yeah, I have to be saying that, and my wife was kind of trying to keep up with me, and all these people were pulling me from back ways, sideways.
But
I
you're
have
so
no clue,
busy.
but to God be the glory. I hope that
God be the
it
glory.
continues to be a blessing and a source of inspiration to others. Good to have you
Amen.
again, part two.
Thank you.
So welcome to Let's Talk with the Doc. Let's talk with the Doc.
Let's
Let's
talk.
talk with Sister Blagrove. All right, so we had a long conversation the last time. We started late. Tonight we are on time. She's a little bit darker than she was the last time, so but she looks good and we can accept that and sounds good. So we're gonna go with that. All right, we wanted to pick up on in part two on after you've grown up. I don't remember exactly where we stopped, but you grew up, um
I left the country
you
and I'd
left the
gone.
country, you got to town, um uh, and so let's pick it up from there. You become an adult. I thought we were maybe in the 25 years range of your life, so let's pick
Early
up from there.
20s.
Yeah,
Early
let's pick up from
20s.
there.
Yes. So I became a media. I worked in the media industry in Jamaica.
Oh, okay, all right. So before we get working into the media,
Mhm.
how did what what projected you to, or what did you do to get in that area? What kind of studies?
Okay, so it's a that's a very interesting question because Faith would have had it. I did no formal studies in communications at the time. Later on in life, while working at several media houses in Jamaica, I would have done courses, certificate courses, but I did not go to Carimac. I did not go to any of those journalism or media institutions that are popular. I believed God just placed me in a divine favor at the time. And because of my capabilities, because of my natural communication skills, I became a reporter. I started doing reporting for there was a newspaper back then called North Coast Times. It operated out of Ocherius and it covered the western end of Jamaica. And so I got the privilege to write for them and I did some very pretty interested front page stories. I mean, I did pretty well.
Oh, oh, okay, okay,
I
okay.
it's
So
fascinating.
how did they find you, or you found them? Who there was there? They say you are, what do they call it now? An insider, somebody
Yes,
were looking out for
actually,
you.
funny story. One day I was in the town of Montego Bay. I'm funny. I mean, like I can be very dramatic at times and so forth, and I will make an audience laugh. I'll make my company, whoever is around me, I can crack a joke and they'll laugh. And I was in Montego Bay one day. We were going to visit a friend who had an accident and was in the hospital, and everybody was just grumpy and sad, and I just started pretending as if I was a reporter. I was like, here we are at Conroe General Hospital, we're about to enter, and I was giving, pretending as if I was a news reporter, and this gentleman saw me and he said, "You're a natural." And I said, What are you talking about? He said, "No, the way you explained and outlined and even," I said, "I'm just joking, nothing," And so we started to communicate. And then when there was an opening, as I said, I had no formal training. It was just, natural abilities for a reporter for Western Jamaica at the time. I got the privilege. I was interviewed by one of the greatest editors in Jamaica, the great Franklin McKnight.
Okay.
He, yes, and he was my boss for many years.
So did you leave your number with this
Yes.
guy who thought?
There was no telephone numbers at the time. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have cell
So
phones.
how did you guys make
It
the
mo-
link? So
right. So he told me where the office was. He told me there was an office at North Street at the time in Montego Bay, and at that time he told me when Mr. McKnight would be coming in and all of that. And I went and he said, "Oh, you're just a junior, just try to do, just try. As I said, I was pretty young. So yes, I would, get a recorder, those first time small recorders. So, I go
Hmm.
to those press conferences, I'd go to those, I covered a lot of court stories. I would
Mm,
used to go to the court's office to just hear what's the latest. And
interesting.
I met a lot of veteran journalists in Montego Bay at the time. Some of them are international now. Some of the young journalists and media personalities that really made an impact in my life. I mean, I speak of veteran um, Marlene Stevenson Daly, Stephen Shaw, who is now the communications manager for the work agency in Kingston. Quite a few. You have um, one of the better one, Vivian Tyson, who now resides in the Turks and Caicos and still doing his media thing. Ratcliffe Watson, the great Ratcliffe Watson, who worked with the Michael Sharps of TVJ and the Marcia Forbes and stuff. So yes, I ended up in a very circle. Dion Jackson Miller, Latoy Johnson, those
Okay,
persons.
so you cover the media platform,
I did.
left, right, and center,
I did.
and
I
and
did.
you weren't aspiring to go into journalism, public relations.
Never,
ju-
never. It
so that's
just
just,
went
just out of a sense of humor, that just like out of
out of a
happenstance.
sense of humor, out of a sense of humor.
Wow.
And I ended up not just only doing reporting, but I started doing marketing, media marketing. And that's where I found my niche.
Oh,
I mean, soliciting and advertisement. I mean, I don't want to go in there because I've done some. I mean, some massive advertising work in
oh,
Jamaica and
all
Israel.
right, all
Yes.
right, all right. So I'm talking to a superstar then. So I'm talking to
I'm
so
humbled. I'm humbled. No, not a superstar.
celebrity, taking down, talking to celebrity, high status, high ranking
No,
Jamaican.
no, sir. Please, please don't. No, I did not. I don't see myself as that. I am an ambassador now for Christ. That I
Well,
know. I'm not afraid
that much we know now. But but
back then.
your story is still your story.
Yes,
Your story is still your story, whether you are in the field or not in the field. But to get where you are, you had to have traveled where you traveled to get to where you are. So,
and I did.
while you might not be pursuing or reflecting on your past, but it's still your journey to get
Yes.
to where you are.
And can I tell you that I often reflect on my past, and there were some mistakes, there were some opportunities that I allow up that passed me. There were a lot of things I found looking back now, the level of maturity, the level of understanding that I had. If it was now, I would be great. Then I would be great. But back
Well,
then
the
I was
the
just
the youthful mistakes,
that's it.
the instability of youth, still trying
The,
to discover myself.
the pride of life.
Yeah, yeah. It happens, and many of us look back and said, "I miss an opportunity. If I had done something differently, if I had not allowed that to happen, then I mean, they say hindsight is always 2020. What coulda, woulda, shoulda,
Should have.
but here we are. We learn by mistakes. I tell you something. And I forget this guy. I think the guy's name is Grant, if I remember. But I read something about this guy. This I forgot what he created, but in a nutshell, he tried. He failed. Well, in the eyes of others, he failed 1,000 times.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the light bulb.
It must have been the light bulb. But this guy, I think his name is Grant, if I can
Yeah,
remember.
I think I heard the story about the
Yeah.
man with the light bulb.
So somebody asked him, "How do you feel to have failed 1,000 times?"
It has
And his
made it.
response was, "I actually did not fail 1,000 times. I realized 1,000 things that didn't work. I'm paraphrasing there. I
Yes.
realized 1,000 things that didn't work.
Perfect.
So now he's actually got it together. I mean, that's a whole other time to try
Can I
something
tell
else,
you?
but
That's what I said. When I, in retrospect, I look back and I said, I am happy. I had those experiences. I am happy that because it works now, it does works now. I mean, those experiences that I had and those opportunities that I had, they come in very handy now at times.
life teaches lessons,
It does.
and it depends on whether we learn or whether we allow them to work for us as we go forward. All right, my friends, I'm talking to Marsha Blagrove, and I'm just getting to find out a little bit of her story. So she has a pretty fantastic, fancy, and sometimes we're gonna hear maybe not so fancy journey, but we are happy to have her. So it's a good time for everybody to hit your share button, invite your friends to join us. And if it's your first time, and if you watch the first time, then you tell somebody, hey, part two is on right now, so they gotta link up so we can go on. All right, so that is interesting because I never thought I would have heard that. And I mean, I don't know your story, so I never thought I would have heard that beautiful piece in there of journalism or reporting,
Working
um,
marketing, news.
marketing,
Yes, media.
news,
Actually,
media.
I spent 18 years in the media industry at
What
different,
that's a lot.
yes, different media houses. The big, the large, some of the largest ones in Jamaica. Well, the largest one in Jamaica.
Well, well. I guess now I know that I'm gonna have to really link with you offline to see if we can make some connections some places. Never know. Well, you never know. So let's see. But we'll leave that for another time. All right.
So,
So now how? So what brought that to an end? What caused you to divert from that, or what happened?
okay, so I would have spent a larger portion of my adult life in that mainstream. Um, Growing up in the church, I always had my Christian, you know, background, ethics, and everything. So um, I struggled a lot, um, you know, in and out of church. I had a fanfare life, so the world excited me at the time, and most times my job would take me to different events, and so, but I still held on. There were certain things that I could not do, and so, but I was not a, I would say, authentic Christian.
So
I was,
you had Christian principles, Christian background, Christian conviction,
yes, no,
but
don't think I had the conviction
you didn't
yet.
have the conviction?
I
No?
don't think so.
Oh, I would thought that the conviction would have been the first thing that you have, the
Um,
conviction.
no,
Okay, all right.
I said that last week that you learn the Bible, you know the scriptures, but the real conviction comes after, which we are gonna get into.
Okay.
Because a
So
lot,
so
I
you
was a
so you
church goer.
okay, all right, okay, all right. So you were okay, all right. Well, again, without the conviction, there's not the control and the stability and the penitence and the brokenness. So I have this church inclination, but I don't have this. I am not committed to it. So I'm enjoying my two life.
Exactly.
I go when I can,
And
and I
I
do
come,
and I do what I
I
have
come
to.
when I can.
Okay, okay, all right, all right.
Right. And so, as I would have said last week, I struggled with religion, not knowing, what is the truth and where really I should be. And one of the hardest thing for me, being filled with the Holy Ghost, at the time was to, I mean, adapt to a congregation or a church, a religion that is, Holy Ghost, um, that has the manifestation of speaking in tongues. So, as I said, I struggled a lot. I would go here, there, everywhere, um, had my opinions, and of course,
So
there
what?
was
So you were you an ideologue, or you were just in search?
in search, and in my search, I was not certain of, because as I said, just imagine I grew up as a Seventh Day Adventist. That's like the ultimate. That's like it's in my DNA,
That
and
that's enough. That's enough influence on one side.
exactly. And so it was difficult for me not to keep the Sabbath. In other words, I mean, that's all I knew.
Mhm.
So even though, yes, there was a place, I remember at one point in my life where I dance, now I worship, now like a crazy girl, and people see me jumping and worshiping and wonder, oh, she must have been born that way. No, there was a time when I could not stand the sound of drums or music or, that kind of thing. I just
We
believe
know
it
the we
was
know the anthem is the acapella.
exactly. It
Yeah.
was
Just
you,
let the
you you
voice
should
speak.
just right. And so even sometimes when I see people just being still, I said, oh my God, they speak about, oh, I've been a Pentecostal all my life, I've grown up in the Pentecostal faith, and I'm saying, yeah, you don't have no energy because it looks like I am the energy God, and they're
Well,
just sitting there.
in Jamaican terms, say never see come see.
You understand?
Never see come see.
Exactly. I'm excited about
So
this.
you were like Jonah making up time. The rest of them are bringing it from born, grow, lived.
Exactly.
So they so been there,
Exactly.
done that. All right, okay.
So yes, as I said, I religiously went to church and so forth, but there was always this anointing, especially for singing. I sang nothing but gospel. I really can't sing anything else. If I try it, somebody might say, oh, it sounds good, but it just does not resonate with me. And so I sang gospel at different concert levels. I was a 2006 Youth for Christ gospel Western Jamaica gospel winner.
Hmm.
Yes,
Interesting.
and
Very interesting.
I've ministered in several churches across the island of Jamaica at, I mean, different levels. I mean, I performed on Genesis. I've done one of the big shows in Montego Bay, Nyamins and Jamins, that is
Wow.
produced and is at one of those staples, those Eras Weekend staples. So I've been around on the gospel scene. I've entered JCDC, and I made it to the. I think I made it to the semi quarterfinals at one point. But yes, so that was my in and out circle. In I as I said, and this I want to specify, when you're in and out and you are exposed to certain things. So yes, I would have had relationships out of marriage and that kind of lifestyle that I lived. I had I have presently, I have four beautiful children. They're all adults. I have
Oh,
Yes, I have a daughter. I think she's in the US now because I'm not in Jamaica and she travels. So I think she's in the US now. I have a set of twins, a boy and a girl. They reside permanently in Canada. And my son, he is still living in Jamaica. So I have four children, two boys, two girls.
wow. Well, I don't know. I don't know you personally, and I don't know what you look like for real. Other than on screen, as somebody told me in the assembly, one of the fans that I met for the first time, they say you actually look better in person. And so so I don't know. I don't
Yes,
know.
when I decorate my age, oftentimes people said, "Don't you ever tell anybody that." And I said, "You know what? This is the mercies of God, because I mean, what I've been through, it doesn't show. It really
Wow.
doesn't show." And I understand, and I think I epitomize the word of God that said He beautifies the meek with salvation.
Well, thank God for that. The Bible works. The Bible works. The Bible works. His words are true. All right, so that's interesting. So all right. So, um, you've been everywhere for that. So to
Yes,
speak.
I've been
Um,
around.
yeah. I mean, here, there, try that, done that, been there, done that. I'm curious. I'm curious. When did you decide, or have you decided which one of these was going to be best for me, or which one I'm going to let go of, and what brought you to that conclusion?
Interestingly, so in 2000 and about 4, I was working in St. Anne at the time. I was um I was a prominent in person then back then in St. Anne. I was a marketing manager for a popular institution in Ocherias. Yes. I can I was a marketing manager for a casino. Yes. I
Wow.
marketed gambling. Yes, I
Wow.
can say that.
Wow.
And yes,
So
and
you talk about a colorful life.
yes,
that's,
very.
that's
I mean,
colorful.
I have been there and done that.
So were you still in search of Marsha?
Yes, I
What
was
were you in
always
search of stability? Were you in search? What were you in
always
search of?
I was in search of what I found now, which
So you
is
so you didn't know what you were looking for.
I did. There's a sermon that TD Jakes preached one day, and I have it on my phone. And oftentimes I just go in there and I listen to it and I suck it up and I cry and I just it just illuminates through me. It says, "I didn't know I was me."
Wow.
Yes,
Wow. I
I
mean,
didn't know I was me. And that sums up everything, because even persons, individuals who know me, I have a friend, she's watching, in New York. We have been friends now for probably about 32 years, and she's always said, "Girl, you're a star. I'm gonna see you on, that popular show in Jamaica called that comes on a Sunday night. Ian Boyne used to host it, but I think he passed away and somebody else does. It's a Sunday evening program.
yeah, I
I
remember that
remember.
one.
Yeah, I can't believe I missed that one. But she always says, "I'm gonna see you on that show, girl. Do you know who you are?" And I'm always looking at them and say, "What is it that they see that I can't see or I don't know?" So that word that and TD Jakes preached that day, really, I have it. I didn't know I was me. I
Hmm.
didn't know I was me. Profile. Thank you so much, Sister Andrea, online watching. Yes, so profile. She always say, "I'm gonna see you on profile one day,"
Hmm.
because of how she sees me. But I didn't know I was me. I didn't.
And this is interesting conversation that because I don't recall talking to somebody who have gone so much into so many things and seem to have done well in all of them.
Yes.
So
Interestingly.
but but still couldn't. Well, here comes don't trying to forget who am I. All right, so let's move on. Let's
So,
move on from that.
so I would just want to add something in, and that is one of the main reason, one of the core values of what I do now, especially with our young persons, because a lot of them have lost their identities. They have just, I wanna step outside the box for a minute, and I often reflect on this. Um, a lot of when we watch, I mean, I don't know of any real life witches, but the depictions in movies of witches and so forth, when they are born, there's like the aunties and the other witches, they take them out of society and they actually take them to a secluded area and train them. What I find is that a lot of our young persons, like myself, as I said, they have born with they have great potential, they have a great future, but because of their environment, sometimes they are tarnished, sometimes they have lost their way, and sometimes they never find it back. Thank
Mhm.
God for me, I have found my way back, but a lot of persons have not. And so they have become, the society have just banished them, and they have become self-destructive. They have
Mhm.
done things and are, they cannot be re, re, re a lot of them, they've just lost themselves. And so that is one of the thing I try to be a mentor to a lot of young persons who are still trying to find their identity. And we've heard popular stories of, oh, I see a lot of persons now are coming into generational curses, breaking generational curses, because they said that those of us that have been through stuff, it's because the enemy knew that we were going to be champions of God, so that he tried to derail. And even in that same sermon that TD Jakes preached, he spoke about the wheat and the tear. It was so powerful that while the sower sowed good wheat, good seed, the enemy went and planted thorn amongst the wheat, and that is what I believe. So the enemy tried to distract me, but the Bible says, train up a child in the way he should grow, and when he is old, he'll not depart from it. And amidst all that I've been through in life, I was happy that even not fully understanding God, that was instilled in me to know there were some lines, Bishop, that I never crossed.
Mhm.
It was just not crossable for me.
It is interesting because that comes back to
Your
one of
book.
what it comes back to my book, right? It comes right
Yes,
back to my book.
yes,
It comes right back to my book. And as I said to some of my guests, and if I said this to you the last time,
yes, you did.
but one day God will reveal to you or unveil to you the mystery of your history.
Yes.
And and back in the book, that there's a chapter in the book that says some scars are for God's glory, and
Amen.
some scars are for God's glory, and it doesn't make any sense to the human mind. But if you've never been there, you won't be able to relate to it, and won't be able to tell somebody how to pull through it, because you've been there, done that. So some scars are for God's glory. As much as Marsha been messed up, left, right, center, north, south, west, and east, up, down, in the middle, and everywhere. And God spared you. And sometimes we wonder, God, did you really have to take me through all of this to get me to where I am?
Oh,
Uh,
yes,
did you
it's a
really
must.
did I have to go through all of that to get to where I am? You
and
know,
and interestingly, this is gonna take us now into the other level of what happened in my life, because you see, I've been through. I thought, no, that okay, I have good jobs and I'm living it up, and I was there's a country term that we use, never say come see. you
never see
know
clumsy.
yeah, I was living a high life. I
So
mean,
now, yeah. So now, yeah. I made it. I've
exactly.
gone there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Finally,
I'm a VIP. I remember
finally.
I said, and I felt like, oh yes, I made it. I am on top of everything. But one thing I can tell you, that when God has a calling on your life, He will do whatever it takes to make sure His assignment is completed. So He will allow you to have your own fun, your in your timing. But when He's ready, we always sing the song, when God get ready, you have to move. You
There's
really do.
there's a song that I liked. Vessel of Honor.
Yes.
And they said that,
Yes.
Lord, if
Empty
you
and
if
broken.
yeah,
I
if
might
you
just sing that one tonight.
if you have to
Awesome.
break me, if
Yes.
you have to break me,
To make you, He will.
yeah.
And so
So if
let
you have
us,
to break me, so just help me to understand that you still
yep.
love me, and my life is in your hand.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
That's the setup. You know what? Yeah, as Tony is saying here, that is the setup.
Yes.
I said this time and again, I thought God set up Job, but we're not gonna go there. God set Job up for the devil to really mess him up, because he wanted to prove to the devil that he would not turn his back on him. I have a sister friend of mine who said, "I don't want God to trust me that much. I
No.
don't want
And,
him to,
and, and
I don't want him,
unaware,
I don't want him to have
unaware.
that much confidence in me."
And Bishop, can I tell you, unaware, when he does it, you just have to go through it. One of my favorite scriptures, and it is such a favorite that even it's on my face rag here. It's Job 14:14. And if you know what it says, if a man die,
Can
can
you
he
live
live
again?
again?
Yeah.
All my appointed time,
I'll
I
wait. I'll wait.
wait
Change is coming.
until my change come. Because now I understand that. And interestingly, I am sitting here in this capacity now, talking to the world, sharing my story without embarrassment, without remorse, without feeling any form of um,
Condemnation.
condemnation, because that is what God does. And one of my other favorite scriptures is Romans chapter 8. No, there is therefore no
No
condemnation to
condemnation.
those that are in Christ Jesus, who walk not after the spirit, the
The
flesh,
flesh.
but after the spirit. So let me so after all of that flare and glare, and as I said, I thought I was on top. I was on top of the world. I was moving, rubbing shoulders with the elites of Jamaica and everything. And I felt like, okay, I had it. I happened. But as I said, my background in church was so as I said, in 2000, when I was in Ocherios, I had an encounter. Um, I was just going through a lot. When I said a lot, I mean is as if everything that I had built, I had known, was just falling apart. I had a broken relationship, and I was just, and what happens is that oftentimes you are on a high, and while you're on that high, something happens, you go very low.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at that low. I mean, I still have, I still had my reputation and stuff, but things were not going the way I had planned it. And I remember one night I took Hill one evening, was having some severe pain, and I went to the doctor. And there was a neighbor in St. Anne where I lived at the time, in a community called Parrytown in Ochoria, St. Anne. And I had this neighbor who, she was a very, she was approach she would approach you, just approach you. Hi, how are you? She was very friendly, and so she invited me to church. And that night, while I was sitting there in the church, there was something came over me. One of the something that when I thought of, I was so sick that an ambulance had to come for me. And what? Let me give you this joke, Bishop. I was so prideful that I didn't even speak to people. So I lived
Really?
in, yes, I lived in the community, and I would walk past people and not even say good morning. I would,
Really? That was because of where you see
right,
yourself. You've
right.
climbed the ladder of
I
success.
am I'm a manager, I'm a marketing manager, I'm
Okay. All right. Pride got
I'm
before
employed.
destruction, the heart is spirit before a fall. All right. We could take that.
Amen. Amen. So there I was, and I had taken ill on the roadside. I literally fainted on the roadside.
Oh wow.
And I heard, I remember this gentleman, when the lady, when her name is Sister Jackie called, and he would say, John, come help me lift up the lady. Oh, me, that the girl will not even talk to people.
Oh wow. Wow.
I never forget it. I used to be just so puffed up, and you know, all okay pokey. And when I heard that and the ambulance came, I took out my phone at the time and I said, okay, don't worry, I'll call the ambulance, they'll come. And I had to wait there to get the ambulance. And the ambulance came, and she accompanied me to the hospital and everything. And when I came out, I now changed my concept, because I've never heard that before. For a community to be so hurt by the fact that I don't even say hello, so now they would not even come to my rescue.
Wow.
And it really touched me. And so when I got out of the hospital, I went back to my duty. I would pass, hi, good morning, hi.
Just
That's it.
just just in case I need you next time.
Exactly. And also, persons, I started to smile with person. I was in a position to give persons job. I mean, there were a few persons in the community that I gave jobs. And I started to feel like a opening up, a sense of being, a sense of worthwhile. And so at that time, as I said, I went to church at night, and the fellowship, the love, the warmth of people. And there was an altar call. I went to the altar call, and I said to the pastor at the time, his name is Pastor Steve Palmer. He's from the Parrytown Church of God of Prophecy. And I said to him, "Sir, I need to be baptized now, because if
Uh-oh.
I leave here, I am not sure if I'll do it." So I guess that was the first conviction that I had gotten. And of course, he opened the pool, and Brother Kirk Ellis, I never forget it. He washed me, and I thought, okay, my sins are all washed away. But that was
Oh.
when the challenges came.
Okay, so you're looking for a quick fix.
Oh yes,
You're
I
looking for
don't
a
know.
quick,
You see, a lot of persons, have the misconception
yeah,
that,
and if I get
okay, you go
baptized,
to the
yeah.
altar, you cry those tears, and you baptize, and okay, uh-uh.
It's all fixed now. I don't have to do anything else. Once
That's
I get
where
that done, then
that's
I'm good.
that's the beginning. That's the beginning. That's the beginning of everything. It's either you make now or you break
Mm-hmm.
at that
Mm-hmm.
point.
Mm-hmm.
And so yes, so that was where I got my first no, that wasn't my first baptism. I think I had in the Sunday church, right? So yes, so that was where I had that conviction of becoming uh, a Sunday worshiper. No, back up, back up a bit. There was a situation in Montego Bay, right? When I went to the Mennonite church, right? The Jamaica Mennonite church. Because as I said, where I'm from, there are only two churches, and they were on mission there. So yes, I had gotten baptized with them first. The
Okay.
Yes,
All right. So,
I
all right.
remember that
Okay.
now.
We 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 we
That
gonna.
was that was a long time. I almost forgot. Yeah, but I
Okay.
remember.
All
Yes,
right.
yes,
So you maybe didn't think there was a conviction. There had been a conviction. You were rejecting the conviction, and you were trying to do your thing despite the conviction, right? But
yes,
every now and then it pops up, because if the seed was there,
yes.
the seed doesn't die,
It doesn't.
even though you do everything to suppress it, and
You're right.
the ashes cover the flame, and let it seem like it's dying. But if you fan it over, like Peter said, fan
Mhm.
it into flame. So the seed is there. So you keep on searching and trying some other thing, because you're trying to bring life to something that's there,
Purpose.
but still
Yes.
Marsha herself is not ready to let go everything and surrender to what that thing that is popping up every now and then. All right, so
I
we move
didn't
on
know
to,
how. I didn't know
huh?
how. I didn't know how.
Okay.
I don't think I had the capacity at the time to do and to know what. Because one of the thing is, Bishop, and we still find it in a lot of churches as we speak about, we wear mask, and we carry different personas. And so some persons have a mask for church, they have a mask for work, they have a mask for the market, they have a mask for in their household. So what you find is that at any given moment, you don't know who you're dealing with, because there are different personas, and that you cannot your true self cannot be manifested, because you're hiding behind these facade. So
Mhm.
one other thing that, as I said, um now I'm crazy for God. I will i will i will just break out into worship anywhere, anyhow. No one, I will just minister to anybody. But then there was a lot of pride. I would sing, yeah. Anybody could ask me, can you sing? I heard you guys sing. And I would sing. But that ministering, that sharing, that testifying, that encouraging wasn't there. I
Well, you
for
were
me,
you were you were still being prepared.
yes.
You were
Yes.
still being prepared, and God was still depositing into your pain or into your
I was still on
struggles,
the
and
potter's wheel.
still on the
I was in
potter's
the
wheel,
potter house.
still breaking, still breaking, still breaking and remolding.
Yes.
So okay, so you said now you had broken relationships,
Yes.
from a high.
To a
How did the
low.
relationship begin? The first broken one, and then how
Okay.
many how many were there?
Okay. So I had three relationships. Like they were for different seasons. All right. So one of my relationship I had for about 3 years. That one I thought would have worked in the sense of um, getting married and everything. But at that time, it appears as if I was barren.
It appears
And
that okay.
yes, it appeared as if I was barren. And so that played a factor. I
But
mean,
how long or how soon or how quick could one come to a conclusion? That's a speculation, imagination. What is it?
it's not only was a speculation, but it was trauma from my past. Because remember, I told you, Bishop, that I was molested as a child.
Hmm.
So having that conception that I am damaged goods, I cannot conceive. I would have, that, as I said, it's a misconception, and that played.
Was that in your mind, or in the partner's mind?
It was in my mind, and I shared it, and it also went into their mind, the family mind, and everything. Because as I said,
Okay.
for 3 years, you okay, let's, you're working on something, because these were marriages. These were relationships out of God. So
Hmm.
sexuality was involved and all of that. So it just never happened. And there I was thinking that I was barren. And I remember he said to me, "Me not gonna marry you if you can't." I don't pit me, plain and straight Jamaican terms. And
Right.
his
Typical,
family,
typical,
yeah,
typical.
his family knew about it. So that again damaged me. So I went by myself for a while, and just stayed by myself. And then I remember I met this gentleman, and I said to him, "Listen, I don't want nobody. I don't want nobody. I don't want a man, because I don't have no use to no man," and so forth. And I remember he's the father of my first child. And I remember he said to me, "You tricked me." When I told him I was pregnant, he said, "You tricked me." That was his word. Because I mean, I was walking around with this placard saying I can't have children. And so that happened. And shortly after, that relationship didn't work because it was not built. And during my pregnancy, I had a terrible attitude. I mean, I wet that man up. I run him from my gate. I just could not stand the sight of him. And he tried a lot of things, and it just didn't work. And I just pushed him aside. And after I had that child, about 2 years after, I had the twins. And when I had the twins, now that was a different setting.
So that
That
was that for the same guy.
different man,
So he went,
different.
he went, and now the floodgates open.
Exactly. And I had twins. And that too, that relationship, I was more stable. I had a home, I had family and everything. But there were issues. I mean, it was abusive, physically. A lot of things happened. And I end up with a bodyguard. And having had the bodyguard, I end up again, I became promiscuous. And at that time, now I had my final child, and I decided that, listen, I'm taking my life. So
So
that
the
was
so
my
so the, so
time.
the, so the bodyguard was more than a bodyguard.
Yes, he was. He was a comforter. I used it because, you see, no, my life was threatened and everything, and I was going through all these things and all of that. And so I now had as I said, this bodyguard. I remember that particular night when I tell him, please stay with me, don't leave. I was threatened. I felt that I would have been hurt because I was trailed, and I begged him to stay with me. And the rest is history,
Come
as we
comes
say.
comes comes with a price.
It came with a price, a
Uh,
very beautiful
all
price.
right, okay,
Yes, because
okay. My friends,
yes,
I'm talking to Marsha Blagrove, and if you're just joining us, this is part two of our story, and we're trying to get as much as we can tonight. It's a good time for you to hit your share button and invite your friends to join us, especially if you know Blake Grove or you want to know who's Blake Grove. Then hey,
yes,
share it, tell somebody else to join us because it's an interesting story. All right,
yes.
let's continue with this one, two, three. So now the floodgates
Four,
open.
four.
One,
One,
two,
two,
no, you're
three,
double,
four.
yeah, okay, double, yeah, twin. So now
Yeah.
what thought was a barren now is like a production manager now. You're like,
Yeah,
yeah,
and I
okay.
tell you, beautiful, no difficulties, no. When as I said, I had twins, boy and girl. So I realized that there, I'm a good soil. Just didn't
So
know who
what
I
were you
was.
what were you thinking of Marsha now? As a matter of fact, from the first one, what were you thinking about you because you have maintained this concept or this belief that because out
It
of ignorance
was
for
it
sure.
was it was rough because what was happening to me now was I had this mindset that I wanted to have uh, children in wedlock,
Okay. All right.
and that was not happening, and I was scared because one of the things that a lot of us who have been abused go through is that psychological effect of that thing happening to your children. So I was very, very, very scared. I was I don't I think that I suffered postpartum depression. At that time I was just not
Mm.
able to be that mother that I wanted to be. It's like I remember I said to somebody, I asked for something, and when I get it, I did not know how to care or to protect it because I was afraid that I was not prepared for what if. And so the what ifs placed me in a state of confusion, a state of instability. And so, I got help raising my children. They're they were the grandmothers, they helped to raise especially three of them, the twins, and there was a very they basically there was a very controversial story about it that because of their sake I will not get into tonight because they're healing from it. We speak about it on a one-on-one, and I will not go into the
That's
depth of it.
fine. That's fine. You don't have to say anything you don't want to say here because
No,
we don't know what you don't
for
want
my
to say. And
children's sake, for
right.
they
And
they
that's
are
fine.
they are in their young adult lives, and they're battling their own demons now, which I have to pray for because I don't understand what they're going through. So for that reason I won't get into that.
That's fine because we don't know what we miss. We won't know what we miss. So that's okay.
Right.
All right.
Right. So yes, so after that, no, having the children and everything, as I said, I got help raising them, still continuing in my work. As I said, I would have done 18 years. So I always have a very good job and everything. I encountered God in 2004 was when I really encountered God. That was my first encounter with God. Like literally, my son's name is Amiel. And you're a Bible scholar, sir. You know what Amiel means. You
Mm.
know that name is in Chronicles. It's twice in the Bible. It comes in the Old Testament in Chronicles, and it also comes back in. Is related to Mephibosheth. So yes, right. So
Never bullshit.
yes, Mephibosheth. Amiel, Ammiel. So
Okay.
yes, so that child really grounded me. Was very sick. He lived in the hospital,
Wow.
and so he was asthmatic and he was born with it. So every minute, I mean, that little boy wore a jacket all the time because he was just so frail. But he's a strong man now. I mean, he's a very, very strong young man now, and so it grounded me a bit, and I
That was that
focused.
was that was the last one.
Yes, and I focused on him, and I had to because I had no other choice. The other children were with their grandparents, and so I said to myself at that point, I have four children, I have to raise one, and so I committed myself to raising him.
And then he was the frail one,
He was the frail one.
and so
He
you
was
have
the one that I have no other
he was the
choice.
one that really needed you.
Yes,
Well, God moves in mysterious ways. So, all right.
wonders to
Want
perform.
us to perform. Okay. My friend, again, I'm talking to Marsha Blagrove, and interesting story, long story, and there's a lot of parts to our puzzle. And I don't know if we can even pull all the pieces of the puzzle
Yeah.
together tonight,
The book, Bishop, the
but
book.
she's intending to write a book. Are you
It
writing a book?
started. I started it. I
Okay,
started
she's
the
writing.
book.
So that maybe going to take maybe 2 more years to finish writing. Maybe 2 more years. If you really want to detail it, maybe if so maybe 2 more years before you're going to publish that book. But you can create an anticipation. Okay, so where did your life go now? These men come and they're gone. You're left with babies. You're left with kids. Four kids. You have more than you never thought you would have had any. Now you have four, and
Yes.
so where did your life go after that?
So as I said, I was now focused on this little boy, trying to raise him by myself. And I worked still in the media industry, different media houses, but yes, I still had a good job. And I continued, raising him, going to church. No, I am a Christian. I mean, I still don't have that conviction that I have now, but yes, I'm going to church. I'm, doing, I think at the time well in
So
the
did
church.
you turn to church out of brokenness, being overwhelmed, confused, lonely?
Um,
What was
it's
it driving
from
force to say, I
okay,
better settle myself down, or let me.
right. I mean, as I said, I would have had a a sick child. One, I would have had an encounter with God. Two, so now I
And you
found.
and you said you had an illness. You were ill as well.
Yes, yeah, I had a illness. I took ill at the time. I was having severe pains, and
Right.
that hospitalized me and so forth. So that I was never diagnosed at that time with any critical illness at that time. Later on, I had diagnosis, but at that time, there was just I was just treated and sent home, and you move on and so forth. Um, no, I was now settled. I was singing, I was in church, I was, doing ministry. I was a part of a group called Crusaders for Christ, G Storm Production, and we evangelize in Spanish Town. We do that, we do a lot of ministry. We prison ministry. I was now still still not yet off the potter's wheel, but I was coming into finding a niche of life, which is in Christ. And I was doing very well. I was around a lot of ministers, a lot of pastors. I mean, I remember singing at Manpower Crusades. I mean, in Spanish Town, you remember those days with Errol Hall and Courtney McLean and all those big crusades. I was singing on those crusades in Spanish Town, just, doing my thing. And
Maybe I'm not sure. Well, I'm not sure of the demographics and the happenings in Spa because I'm up in St. Andrew, and I left Jamaica since '92. So
That's a long time.
I'm not sure,
After
maybe
that, yes.
yeah.
But there was a time when evangelism and ministry in Spanish Town was, very, we had big tents all over Spanish Town. And as I said, Errol Hall was one of our staples.
Is that the era all that I know?
Yes, the one, the great,
Errol,
great,
that was that said he was a prophet
actually,
on it. The prophet
the
on it. Okay,
great, yes,
okay, okay. All
yes,
right.
Errol Hall.
We grew up together as young men, young Christians.
Right.
So
So when I was in Spanish Town, I mean, as I said, we did a lot of ministry down in Rivoli, a lot of, I was now finding myself in ministry, but
mhm,
still not delivered. So yes, there's a calling, there's some peak of, things, persons. Yeah, I can sing, and of course I sing with a level of anointing and conviction and so forth, and I knew the word, so I could quote the scriptures, but yet I was not fully, what I know now. I mean, I did not touch the surface at that time. And I believe that, oh, yes, I'm anointed, I'm powerful. I mean, persons would call me woman of God. I would pray, that kind of thing. But yet, still, I had the rough edges that needed to go. And yes, as I said, we did a lot of ministry in Spanish Town throughout those years. And in 2010, I I got married to a evangelist at the time, now pastor,
okay,
because I was in that circle. I
okay.
mean, and yeah,
So the evangelist saw this dynamic minister.
who power pack individual.
Okay, all
I
right,
mean,
all right.
that is what everybody think. Oh, we are going to be kingdom ambassadors. We're gonna rip the devil apart because we have this powerful thing. But can I tell you that um and for a moment there, we thought we did a lot of powerful things, and I often say that I believe we bit off too much that we could chew, because we were we were here, there, and everywhere. I mean, from Westmoreland to Portland to St. Elizabeth, we were just all over doing ministry.
Mhm.
Wherever it was called, we would just pack a car and we're on our way. And a lot of things happened. A whole lot of things happened.
All right. So where did Marsha's life go?
Okay, so what happened at that time was, no, I believe the scripture says that you cannot pour new wine into old wineskin. And here I was, a old wineskin, and that had not shed, and new wine was being poured into it, and it could not contain it. And that is how I describe that aspect of my
Well, we're not gonna go into the theological.
life. No,
I'm not gonna go into the
no,
theological
it's just I'm
understanding.
just paraphrasing
Yeah,
it.
because I hear you, and I'm because then if I go into the theological interpretation and understanding of that, then I'm gonna have to.
Show me off,
But
please.
yeah, I don't want to do that because I don't, so let's go on with your story.
Please don't show me off,
Yeah,
sir.
no,
I believe
I will.
I have something good going here. Please don't show me off, because I
All right, all
often
right, all right. We're gonna take the application of that and say,
yes,
okay,
please.
so all right, go on.
So yes, as I said, here we were to powerful ministry, and there was some level of conviction on me. But
I,
yet
I'm
still
cu- I'm curious before you move on though. I'm curious to get an understanding of what made you think that there was new wine pouring into an old wineskin. So let's say there was something happening to
okay, so ministry.
Marsha that Marsha couldn't contain or was too much for her to handle.
Okay, so as I am saying now, being married to a pastor comes with a lot of responsibilities.
Hmm.
I have a congregation. I have persons that are looking to me for guidance as a first lady.
Hmm.
I have I have a husband who is a minister who I have to care for, right? And so what happened was that, and I have learned not to be one-sided, and so I'll try my best to be as balanced as I possibly can, because my husband also had his own issues, but he had a calling and anointing. I had my own issues, and we believe that, okay, just just going into God, just saying that we're Christians can take on all this ministry. Persons, your book, you when ministry is not a petty thing, and for persons who believe that ministry is something you just jump into, it's not, because you have the good, the bad, and the indifference. You have different people to deal with. If you are not able to deal with earth, you cannot deal with a ministry, a church. You have to be able, you have to be healed in order to heal people, to help to heal people. A lot of times we say earthed people hurt people, right?
Mhm.
And that is what I meant when I said, because I have not dealt with my past. I had not dealt with my situation. I had not dealt with anything that I had been through. Getting baptized, singing, studying, believing this is it. No. Whenever the situation arises, or at the time when the situation arises, I was not able to deal with it.
So those are those, as you mentioned earlier, those are some little mask, or mask things, and trying to cover it under the anointing. Yeah, put an anointed white sheet over it, so to pretend
Some
it's,
are it.
to pretend it's not there.
Not there.
Okay, so but again, life's reality, and then we talk about the other day about trauma can impact you for the rest of your
Exactly.
lives, and
Exactly.
unresolved issues sometimes pop up in your relationship, and and they can cause chaos. So, and that's why, and unfortunately, a lot of us don't go through a process of counseling, get an understanding, who we are, where we are, what we're going into, how to navigate through that thing, what to expect when that's going to happen, and how to handle them when they happen. So we go into, and I would tell you, and if anybody listening, going into relationship, marriage relationship takes more than a good prayer life. I can tell you
Oh,
that.
yeah.
It takes more than a good prayer life. It takes more
It
than
takes more than
fasting.
speaking in
It
tongues.
takes more than tongues and fasting. I can tell you that. Because when the speaking in tongues and the fasting and the thing is all over, it's like honeymoon. Honeymoon is the shortest time in your relationship. They ever come down to ground and deal with the reality of life, and become human and understand the fundamentals of life and relationship and the differences between the male and the female. Now, let me not go into counsel. Anyway, yeah.
Exactly. And personally, I'm a nurse now. I studied and became a nurse a few years ago. And can I tell you, when I was in nursing school, I learned that you have to separate work and home. When you're at work and you're dealing with all these patients, you never take a patient home
Don't
with
don't
you.
carry it home. Don't carry it
Exactly.
home.
And so just imagine in ministry, you're taking all your members home. I mean, being a pastor, being a pastor's wife, and of course, I'm a pleasant woman. I mean, I try, I'm very talkative, and I think I have a bit of counseling in me, and so I was always encouraging and counseling and pouring out. And can you imagine pouring out of nothing? Because I myself, some of the words that I remember one day I counseled a young man who was adamant that he was going to leave his wife for all these reasons. And then when I told him, I said, "Thank you, you called me, and the reason why you called me is because you wanted help." And I remember when I finished talking to him, he canceled, the moving. And I encouraged him at the time. I said, "You know what you're gonna do for me? You're gonna book a flight now, and you're gonna take, you and your wife are gonna go somewhere. And he was like, she always says she want that. And I said, you're gonna do it now. And he actually did it. His marriage was, it came back, and he one day he called me. Both of them were on the phone with me, and and they said to me, so hold on, since you have that capability and that capacity to help others, how come you couldn't help yourself?
That's what the skeptic said about Jesus. How did he say about himself? He couldn't say, right? So,
Right. So
yeah.
what I find is that you are able to go on that platform and to say all these things, but to apply it to your own life, to do that self application becomes very difficult. And
Mhm.
then again, we speak of the mask, and we speak of the different, the personas. I'm going to church now, I have to look good, and whoo, and yes. But then when church, and everything comes back, and so that emotional aspect of everything had really taken a toll on me. And very early in the marriage, as I said, we were on a roll. We were all over. People were calling us. I mean, my husband was on the radio. I mean, Love 101 was his staple at the time. He was praying, doing all sort of stuff, just, and I was there backing him up. And even though, Bishop, can I tell you that even when you know how and you have it all packed, there comes a time when you yourself just, you're finished, right? And so yes, he was doing all of that. And I remembered we had issues, because he had some issues, and infidelity plagued us. There were jealous women in the church of our marriage. Some persons believe he was not good for me, and all of that kind of thing. And there were just a lot of things, and I think he got caught up in it. And I've been around persons, and I hear men speak of after they've preached, and they have this desire of, sexual urges and all of that. And may I confess that that was in my marriage. I was very experienced, so it was not lacking. However, there came a point when I really had to take a stock of myself, because he was out there. He had a weakness, and he was out there. And that played in our marriage. I remember a lot of things that happened. We had talked about it. We had sought counseling. I remember I said to him, listen, let's take a sabbatical. And what we're going to do is we're going to just go to different churches to be filled up. And of course, I believe he was so popular that everywhere we went, persons were just coming with their bucket, and we had nothing to pour. We were running on empty. And it took a toll on me mentally, because one of the thing is, and I I am against it, because I remember one counseling session, we were told for the ministry's sake I should be quiet. For the ministry's sake I should pretend. And that took a toll on me, because I remember one day I said, listen, when I was in the world, I mean, I don't play games. And now I'm working for God, I'm in ministry, I'm not going to play games. And it took a toll on me. The silence did. And I got a stroke.
So, what is it? So, who wanted you to be silent?
The church.
And so the church say for the ministry, for the church sake, or for your marriage sake, or for your husband's sake? Which one?
For ministry's sake, that was a word that was used. I don't know whether it for us or the church that we were a part of at the time or whatever, but the terminology that was used was for the ministry's sake.
So
Be quiet.
what was going on then? What was
um
going on then in the relationship
infidelity was the larger part. I mean, there were a
was
lot.
it on your part, on his part, or on both parts?
It was on his part.
on
It
his
was
part.
that I will, that my hands are clean. I mean, the nagging,
So I'm curious now. Then
yes,
why would your silence be a contributing factor to as the benefit? Why silent you if you were not the infidel?
because of his, I think, the the prominency of where he was, who he
Okay.
represented, the organization that he
Okay. Okay.
represented,
Okay.
and all
Okay.
of that.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. Get you. All right. All right. So
Right.
let's get to the stroke now. So you didn't handle that well.
No.
So let's go on to the next step. I'm not sure if the silence caused stroke, but let's see what you were doing.
Um, I blamed myself for a lot of things. I did not see myself adequate or to be in that position. And so I took a kind of laid back, I wouldn't say not laid back, a silence, withdrawal. I became withdrawn. I this silence was deafening. As I said, I'm a bubbly, outgoing person. I described. Thank you, Holy Spirit. I described the situation on um, Bishop Senior's program as a man being a mansion and a woman being a one bedroom. And if you're living in a mansion with, let's say, 10 bedrooms, if something happens in one of those rooms, you can lock that door and go in another room and stay. And so men internalize, they lock things up in they compartmentalize, they put, they something happened here, okay, and they shove it and they move on. While a woman, as I explained, is like a one bedroom. And what we do is that once something is spilled here in this space, we have to get it cleaned. And if it is not cleaned, we cannot sleep, we cannot eat, we cannot survive in that environment. And that was what happened in at that time in my marriage, because I went to church and I just sat down. I was just I
So
was
what was everybody saying to you? Because everybody knew Marsha, the bubbly Marsha, who was
right. and
always speaking,
and
always. What
and
were
and,
what were
and
the
can I
feedback
tell you,
coming?
that was when I got the most prayer. I was always being prayed for. And of course, um, I have suffered mental illness. And when I say mental illness, depression plagued me from a child. I spoke of in our last interview, I told you I've had suicidal thoughts, attempted. And so mental illness, depression, and because mental illness is broad, but depression, I suffered depression, so I would even can't get out of bed sometime, and that depression sometimes cause chronic pains. And even if I go, the easiest thing for me to say, I'm not feeling so well. So persons were always in sympathy for me, but the real thing was what I had to deal with.
Mhm.
The secrecy of the infidelity, the hurt, the pain, the constant disrespect of what he was doing. Because my husband was such a gentleman that whenever he does anything, he comes in and he tells me, I mess up again. I'm sorry. Let's pray for me. Please. Yeah, I went through that. And for a moment, I used to say, I used to lay hands on him, and I remember one night I bathed him with a whole bottle of olive oil, because I said, anointing every part and every crevice, and no demon from hell.
Yeah, olive oil never get to a man's heart. So hallelujah.
Bishop, it is
Even,
the mind.
even
It
if
is
you
the renewing of the mind.
even if you make him drink a bottle of dedicated olive oil, that wasn't gonna change anything unless because if the man's heart doesn't change, nothing about the man is changed.
And it's
Right?
not, and let us be very careful when we say man, because I'm not
I
specifying
mean a
like
person. I mean a
you is
person.
person. If
I
if
mean a
if
person.
if if the heart is not changed
The
drastically,
heart
the
is everything. The heart is everything,
everything,
and nothing is
everything,
changed until the heart is changed. You could
nothing.
try every method.
You could
You could,
speak in
yeah,
tongues. You could
you could speak
do.
until your tongue fall in your cleave to the roof of your mouth, as the Bible would say. That wasn't going to change. My friends, I'm talking to Marsha Blagrove, and boy, is her story long. I'm going to give her a chance to get a cup of water, and when I come back, we will continue the conversation because now she already had a stroke, and I'm hearing that I heard that she had a few strokes, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that doesn't even make sense to me. I don't know if we can get to all of those seven strokes and what happened after that. So when we come back, my friends, I will continue the conversation. Stay right there, and we will talk when we come back. Let her get a drink of water.
Presents Truth Matters. Join the Truth Matters panel for discussion on issues of the times with host Dr. Orville Beckford Sr. and his panel consisting of Bishop Ishmael Charles,
Minister Ashana Knight, Bishop Woodrow Thompson,
Dr. Danette Ming, Bishop Anthony Campbell, and Pastor Shelley Antoni. Nothing is off limits for discussion. Follow ORB Ministries on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And be ready for the next hot topic on Truth Matters.
Everyone has scars, and everyone has a past. Some people have been judged by their scars and held hostage to their past. Some people have judged others by their scars and hold them hostage to their past. And even when sometimes they have turned their lives around, some people will still not let them go so they can progress in life, grow in ministry, and achieve their goals and aspirations. That's why this book, Don't Judge Me by My Scars or Hold Me Hostage to My Past, is important for you to read. If you have been offended or you are the offender, you need to read this book. If you've been offended, you'll find hope and healing by reading this book and direction. And if you are the offender, you'll find direction how to learn how to allow others to move past their past. There are some people who have held themselves hostage to their own past. And as I said in this book, the worst hostage is when you hold yourself hostage. Because when nobody else is even thinking about you, you are still held hostage because you hold yourself hostage. Read this book to find hope and healing, because some scars are for God's glory. So I hope you will get a copy of this and find hope and healing and a reason to forgive yourself and to make good of the value of grace. If you are in the continental USA or any of its territories, get a copy directly from me, because then you will get an autographed copy. If you're out of United States or territories, then you can go to Amazon or your local bookstore and get a copy. But go to obeckford.us or email me at orbministries@gmail.com and let's arrange for you to get a copy directly into your mailbox.
Wednesday, 8 p.m. Join ORB Ministries on Let's Talk with the Doc, live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. There is a story, something to encourage and inspire you. You may even have a life-changing experience. You never know what's next or who will join the conversation. Stay connected. Subscribe to ORB Ministries YouTube channel. Follow on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
All right, so let's get back to ourselves here. Here we are back into the conversation, and thank you, Nadine, who said I'm getting my copy for sure. God bless you. Everybody need to get a copy of that book. And if you're in the continental USA, email me at orbministers@gmail.com and you'll get an autographed copy directly from me. All right, so let's continue with the conversation, Sister Marsha.
And before
Okay,
we
so
continue with the conversation, I just want to say a big shout out to my family from Bendon Church of God of Prophecy. They're logged in, they're in the chat, some are watching, and I just want to say thank you all guys for the love and the support to our Bishop Rodney Joseph and Lady Anne Marie Joseph.
I think
Thank you
I think
for
I
being
think I've been
spiritual
I think
parents.
I've been to Bendon before, if I can remember. I think I've
In
been to Bendon.
Town. You should. It's the
I
gate.
think I've
It's
been
called the Gateway of St. Catherine.
I think I've been
That's
to
one
Bendon.
bender.
I think I've been to Bendon
Yes.
before. But
Pastor
that's
Bailey.
that's
Yes,
been
you
a
have.
long time in my
That's
life.
where
That's
Minister Shavine Douglas is from.
I have been to Bendon
You
long, long,
have been to
long, 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 long time.
yes.
90s, early 80s, late 80s, early. I mean, that's a long time ago. All right.
Pastor Bailey. Yes.
Yes, I've been around, long time. All right, let's continue the conversation. Thank you for joining us, my friends.
Right. So yes, I was talking. Should
So
I
you
go
were
ahead?
talking, no, you were talking about the broken relationships, what the silence that you got, you end up having a stroke. So that's where we're picking up from.
Yes, sir. And so yes, in 20, yes, so I think it was 2011 or 2012 thereabout 2012, right? I got a stroke. One morning I just got up from my bed to go to the bathroom and I fell to the ground. I realized that I could not move my left side. Um, I had my phone, and so I called my sister, and she called my husband, and he came in, took me to the hospital, and funny enough, and this is a story that I don't know how many persons can identify with it. So a lot of persons get strokes because of a few reasons. They
Hmm.
have their blood pressure elevate,
Hmm.
or there are blockages in their arteries.
Hmm.
And so what had happened is that when I went to the hospital and they took my blood pressure, it was I'm not quoting it right, but it was probably about 157 over 110 or thereabout. So it was to them,
That is definitely stroke territory. There's no doubt about that.
yes, but the trick about it is that um for me, it was. But a regular doctor would tell you that, okay, this is not to be alarmed. And the thing is, I have what is called hypotension, meaning if you, like I'm here now, if you should put a blood pressure machine on me, my blood pressure could be about 90, 60, or maybe the highest 100 thereabout, because my blood pressure is just regularly low. So for that, that was too high. But the doctors were not so much alarmed because of the where it was. So, but yes, there was evidence of a stroke. They did all their physical tests and stuff, and they found out. So I was admitted in hospital, and I could not. My entire left side was completely lifeless. I had a twist. I know. I often show people that one of my eyes. I mean, everybody I should have said they don't see it. I would say that my face is a bit deformed to one side, but they said they don't see it. I don't know if because I know that it is there, but they said they don't see it. But yes. So my left side, my entire left side was what we say dead. I had suffered a major stroke. Now, what was happening is that they were treating me. And while they were treating me in hospital, I was getting strokes.
So you're getting like aftershock strokes.
Yes, like every I would wake up and my mouth would be twisted today, and they would be giving me medication, and then by tomorrow I would be unable to speak. My tongue would have been, just
Wow.
so I went through that. I was unresponsive. I had to be. I mean, at one point of my life, ambulances were my way to go. That was my ride.
Wow.
Because I had to be transported to different hospitals across the island for MRI. I mean, I remember one time they took me to Conor Regional Hospital thinking that okay, and when we went there, the MRI machine was not working, and I had to overnight there. So hospitals were my hotel. I mean, I used to be in hotels when I was living up, but now hospital became the new place to be. That was my now hotel.
Wow.
Yes, and as I said, I've been. I mean, I've been in like off the hospitals in Jamaica, University, Mandeville, Black River, Con Original. I mean, I used to travel with a bag and just hope that I don't get ill and end up in an hospital. And you know what happened? As I said, having all these medication, having not my own issues and everything, Bishop, I was hopeless. I
So
was just going,
what
yeah.
what okay, so I guess you're saying the triggering factor was maybe stem from the relationship,
The
overwhelmed,
trauma, childhood
the
trauma,
trauma, so
everything.
everything. So they
Yes.
like now
And
in
and
Jamaican old
and
term, they said the chicken coming home to roost. So everything is like
yeah,
climaxing now.
my grandmother had this terminology that she used to use. She used to say that and the same day leaf got water, but I mean it dry, it
Yeah,
rotten.
we
It
know that
takes
one too.
over.
So yeah.
But also I was diagnosed with having a mass in my lower cerebral. So that helped with the blockages. But I was very stressed. I was very depressed. And as I said, it played a lot of factor in in my life, my depression. I was my husband at the time, he said he did not marry for this. This was not a part of what he got married for. And
Hold on a second. Okay, all right,
I
go
cannot
go
answer
ahead.
for him, no, sir.
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead,
It
go
was
ahead,
too much. He was overwhelmed.
go ahead.
And of course, even while I was in hospital, can I tell you, Bishop? While I was in hospital, I remember he hadn't come to visit me for a good while. And can I tell you something? And now I can look back. I think when Paul said it was good that he was afflicted, I think at times I say that to myself, because what happened is that when I was in hospital, my husband didn't come. And I was there sometimes. I was unkept. I mean,
How you mean your husband didn't come to
he
hospital?
didn't come to visit. He did. I remember at one point I spent 21 days in the hospital, and my husband visited me 7 times. And that 7 times that the nurses, they were the ones who counted it. And it was like one morning, one evening in a day. um, that was because they did a report. For those medical persons that are on our UNO hospital, they have to write how many visitors you get, and to see how you're being cared for. And I remember I was there one day. They complained that they could not manage me because I weighed 300 pounds at one point, so I was huge. and
Wow.
and I remembered one of the ward assistants, what we call practical nurses, that she said, me can't tie there, me now pop out me back. So she just have to go stay till our family them come. And nobody came. And I was there, and I remember the nurses were handing over the shift, and one nurse said, so Olande, no the pastor woman, no the pastor man wife that. And nobody no come no. So Olande, nobody from the church no know her. And I listened to them, and I cried. And I remember I said to myself, God, but this was it, Um, my husband had not tell a lot of persons that I was in hospital. And so nobody knew. And I
What kind of husband was he?
we were unprepared. That's what I told you earlier. We were unprepared.
How? I mean, I, forgive me, but how unprepared can
um,
one be or two be to marry a wife and don't even have the a little compassion, a little a little husband's responsibility.
it was my
Um,
Mediterranean journey, sir.
I mean, most people that I marry, especially if they, I mean, I tell everybody that, you know, boys shouldn't get married.
And girls
Men,
shouldn't get married too either.
boys and girls shouldn't get
Should
married,
never get
and
married.
that doesn't come by age either.
No.
So one can say
Maturity.
I am 45, so I'm not a boy.
That's
Yeah,
it.
you know, so boy, so
Maturity.
yeah, it's maturity. So
Yes.
and let's go on because that doesn't make any sense to me. That makes
He's not here
absolutely
to
no
defend himself. He's
yeah,
not here
well,
to defend
yeah.
himself, so we will not go on that.
I am assuming that you're not lying on him, and I'm just saying that
Oh, yeah.
I'm just
I have
I'm,
no reason
I'm
to.
just saying that in general, whether
I
this
have
one
no
or
reason.
some other one,
I
that
have no
boys shouldn't
reason.
get married, and if you marry a wife, if you marry a husband, then you take on certain level of
Responsibility.
responsibility
Yes.
without question. There's no buyout cop out to that. It's just what you are required and expected to do, and if you don't do it,
The
then
responsibility.
you've absolutely failed if you haven't done that.
It's a responsibility. But
Yeah,
as I said,
that's just some of the very basic things.
as I said, Bishop, I have no reason to lie. I wouldn't do that. And
I didn't think you were, but I'm just throwing that out there.
yeah.
But you know,
And
that's
the other thing about it, he's not here to defend himself because as we know, a lot of men they don't have the guts to go into hospital. They don't like hospitals. I'm not defending, I'm just trying to say that,
no,
I'm
no,
just trying
no,
to be
no, no.
balanced.
Let's move on from that one. Let's move on from that one. I don't want to hear that part because if whether I like hospital or no, if my wife is there, my wife is there.
Yes, but actually,
I'm not going to hospital. I'm going to
right.
see my
You're
wife.
gonna see your wife, yeah. So that was that happened, and of course, so moving along, that was an experience that I had in the hospital, and I endured it. As I said, um, I I ended up moving. Um, I ended up moving back to St. Catherine because at that time we we're living in St. Elizabeth. I ended up moving back to St. Catherine and staying with a church sister because I decided that I just needed to get away after all of that. And so I went there and he came, the sister, they loved him. It was a family that they loved us very well. And so they call him and say, "Oh, listen, if in case you're looking for your wife, she's with us, she's safe, and all of that." And he was there like by the end of the night he had come and he was pouring out, he was telling them what was happening to him, and he just didn't expect it. And it's not that he doesn't love me, he just don't know how to deal with a sick wife, and all of that. And so um what happened was that we decided that okay, we're gonna put all the past and just amend things. We got a home, we got an entire house. I mean, these people, they just take up a key and said, listen, this house, go and live in there, move, and all of that. And something happened, Bishop, that really I started feeling better. And something happened where it really opened my eyes, and I said, you know what, Marsha, you have to deal with you. After that day, my husband left, and my ex-husband. He left, and I called him from the house phone that we had access to. When I called him, he was saying, "Me soon come check your baby. Just reach back down, in another place." And he was making an appointment or an arrangement to go see a girl. And I called him and I said, "It's me, your wife," and he hung up. And then when he hung up, he called me back and he says, "Listen, don't test me because I'm human." And and when I said, "Is it that you don't have any control of yourself, or
This
what
is
is it? Or
that's a sick guy.
is it a demon that has possessed you, or what is it?" And I got off the phone and I cried, and I said, "You know what?" I called a nurse friend of mine and I said, "Listen, I need to deal with me. I
He,
need
he,
to deal with me. And I just want to, I feel like I'm gonna go crazy. I feel like I'm getting mad." And she was like, "I'm coming to get you. I'm coming to get you." And she came, she got me, and I sat down and I spoke with her and I said, I think I need treatment. I think I need to be mentally institutionalized. And I went to the doctor. Bishop, I could not walk. I walked with a limp. I was walking on the side of my foot. I was walking with cane and so forth. But what I did, I admitted myself in Bellevue Hospital. And when I did that, a lot of persons were saying this is the end, because no, a stigma is gonna be attached to you of mental. You're a mad woman, and now he has all the reason to say he doesn't want you. And I said I didn't care, because at this time I wanted to find out what if something was wrong with me medically, clinically. I knew something was wrong with me spiritually, but I had to check the medical aspect out first before I deal with the spiritual aspect of my life.
let me ask you. Let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Was he? You say he was the pastor of the church.
He's now a pastor. He
He
was,
was. He was. He
yeah,
was an evangelist
he
then.
was an evangelist ordained, going to be ordained before yeah.
And you
He was,
guys, you guys had a pastor.
we had bishops. We had bishops.
And where were they?
As I said, Bishop, and we have to use wisdom, especially in this area.
I mean, we'll have to call names, and I don't know. I don't know
No,
exactly.
and but it's
And
not
I don't
just
know.
calling names,
I don't
but
know exactly.
that
I don't know
person.
exactly. I don't know
Yeah,
exactly which. I didn't say which church you were going to
no,
then.
okay,
Right? I didn't ask what church you were going to, so I don't know where your
right,
church location was.
okay.
So we can go back and say who was the pastor or the bishop then.
I
That is,
want to make it clear,
yeah.
though.
I am oblivious of that. So, but
Yes, and I also want to make it clear, very clear, that I had left the Church of God of Prophecy at that time. I was now another a Pentecostal, but not prophecy.
so you weren't.
So
So okay. I mean,
so I had left prophecy. So
okay.
just in case persons are
So
wondering
so
if it
so
is any of
prophecy.
our prophecy bishops, no, it's not.
So the prophecy not bearing the scars. All right.
Let me make that unequivocally clear.
Okay, so
That
that's one scar not belong to the children of prophecy. But
no,
my question still stands. My
yes,
question still stands.
yes, sir.
Were there no leadership? Were there no observation? Were
Yes,
there nobody who cared?
a lot, but
There
all
wasn't
they
anybody who cared about the family relationship,
a
the
lot,
man's wife. Nobody cared.
a lot of care was given. A whole
I'm
lot of
I'm talking
care.
about leadership where counsel and guidance comes from.
I remember one pastor refused to counsel us, and the reason, when I said, "Why you won't counsel us?" He said, "Because I love you both, and I would be biased."
Come on, are you kidding? Are you kidding me? Listen,
Yes,
And again, I have ladies who are members of my church who are their husbands are not members or Christians, and sometimes the husband think that the pastor, the bishop, would be biased because he's not Christian and his wife is member of the church, and I clear that hurdle. I
Yeah.
clear that hurdle, whether it is premarital counsel, marital counsel, whatever. I'm making it clear. I have no bias. And I let my church member know I have no bias. I have no, because I care about you. I care about your relationship. And if you are wrong, I'm going to tell you you're wrong. And if you are right, I'm going to tell you right. But because the end result is that I want it to be better for you both. And if I can be an arbitrator without taking sides, then I miss my responsibility and my duty as a leader to counsel you and to help you to make amends.
And
So if a minister tell you, I
but
that is a
Bishop,
that is
can
a
I
that's
be
that's a dereliction of duty.
can I be frank with you and be balanced, because I want to be as balanced and transparent as possible. Can I tell you that if individually, if a person does not, if one does not make up in their mind to be that person, you cannot make them be what they're not, or what they, if that, I mean, he he had the best counselors. Bishop, I'm telling you, we had the best support system. He just did not adhere or applied what he got to.
Okay, so you got counsel.
Yes, we got encouragement, we got counsel. Can I tell you, one of his weaknesses was that he was a runner. So if something happened and he believed that, okay, I messed up in St. Elizabeth, let's move to Westmoreland.
Listen, I again,
But it was all good, because you see what has come out of it is what you're looking at, the product.
well, end result, to God be the glory. To
To
God be
God
the
be the
glory.
glory.
But
I thank God. I thank God for every situation. Now I can look back and I can say thank you, Lord. And what it has done, it has equipped me to not judge. It has equipped me to help a lot of person. And Bishop, can I tell you, sharing my testimony, just being open, just being real, just being honest, just being transparent. Do you know the amount of persons that are being helped?
yes, a lot of persons are being helped, and this will
And
help
that
people.
gives me satisfaction.
And
I sorry, I don't cut you. I told a lady the other day, I said, listen, I went through hell so that you don't have to go. So if you just adhere, if you just follow the steps that I'm telling you to take, because you have to come to that acknowledgement. You have to know, look, you have to think about the well-being of you and what you want from God.
and that's fine, and to God be the glory that you're under the exception. To God be the glory that you're an exception, because maybe God got a special plan and purpose for you.
I believe so.
But a lot of people wouldn't make it to where you are.
No.
All right.
And it
So
is only by grace that I am here.
by the grace of God, and so
By
so
the
we
grace of
so
God.
there's a responsibility for a man, and a woman for that matter, if it goes vice versa, that you can't negate your responsibility, and allow your spouse to bear it all by themselves, and then tell me you weren't prepared for a sick husband, you weren't prepared for a sick wife. What's the vow say, for better, for worse, for sickness or in health? Are you kidding me? What did
Yeah.
that mean to you? Just like we're going to be speaking in tongues every day, and we're going to just jump and shout and preach and sing, and that's how we look at life to be the real life. Come
Yeah.
on, my friends, if that's your outlook at life, you don't deserve to have a spouse.
But Bishop, as I said, listen, and let us not let us look at the, as I said, you cannot, if you don't have the capacity,
But
sir.
hear me. I
No,
just
sir, just yeah.
hear me. I'm putting this out there for not for your husband or your previous husband, but I'm putting it out there for those who wanna be husband and those who wanna be wives. That you are going into this with a responsibility, and we can't expect God to just work all the miracles because we supposed to be wise enough and care enough and be man enough and be responsible enough to be able to shoulder our responsibility. I
If we don't
mean,
know how to, we can't.
if you if you don't know how to before you go into it, find out,
Don't
because
or don't go into it.
it's not just feeling good about somebody. I love this person for whatever
Exactly.
reason, for whatever reason.
So this is also one of the things that a lot of person, and that's what I share. I share. I said to people, listen, do not go into a relationship because of the physical. Oh, he's handsome, he's tall, he's dark. Oh, she's beautiful, she's talented, she is this. Never you do that, because when the time comes, when it's not a talent show, when it's not a beauty contest, what is going to happen to that person? And so I encourage a lot of persons, be friends with somebody before you get married. Don't just believe that, okay, we are Christians. Don't just believe that, okay, we speak in tongues. Don't just believe that, okay, we are anointed, because that will not work on the day.
There are some things in marriage that you don't need to pray about.
Exactly.
There are
But if
some
you
things in
don't
marriage you
know how
just
to do it, you just can't.
there are some things in marriage you just need to do. You just need to do.
Can I say
I'm,
something,
I'm not.
Bishop?
When I say you, I'm not talking to you, Marsha.
No,
I'm speaking to
and
somebody else.
can I put a little icing and cherry, a little cherry on the cake? I shared this. I said, I mean, as a wife, I yes, I suffered, but don't think I was a nagging wife, in the sense of I knew he would have he had infidelity issues, but the days when he did not have infidelity issues, I was judging him to say that, oh, you're gone out with so and so. So as I'm saying to you, sir, that our capacity, something happened, and instead of getting past it, I would judge him about it. Even when he's trying to not do it, I would say, oh, you come in late last night, that is where you went, and so forth. So I didn't have any chill either.
I mean, I understand you, and again, my friend, we're not fighting on this. We're not fighting on
Yes.
this.
No, I just
But
wanted to be clear, because a lot of times we are one-sided in thinking that, okay, the infidelity caused me to do to be like this. No, he had his issue, I had mine, and that is what happens in a lot of relationships. I mean, there's never one person at fault. There's always, it takes two to tangle. You understand? So I have pledged myself to never be bitter. I'm not bitter with him. I'm not angry. I want to be better. I want to help another relationship to be better than mine. I was talking to a couple, not a couple, a wife, and I was saying to her, listen, when was the last time you took out a suit of clothes for your husband and iron it and put it down and say, listen, if you want to come to church, there is a prepared clothes? She said, Mina, no. And I said, before you go any further, have you, no, because he now come to church. I said, have you prepared it? I said, iron the clothes, hang it up, take out the shoes, put on something and say, listen, if just in case you want to come to church, come, instead of you sitting down and saying, oh, I'm not coming to church. And she tried it, and lo and behold, the husband he went to church. So I'm just saying that there are little things that sometimes we look at the bad. Yes, my husband did some things, but I was not all. I did some things too. And my problem was that I had a mental issue where I was insecure. And in my insecurity, it caused me to react in a way that was scary. And as I said, I sought to get myself, because just imagine hearing my husband saying that he's going to check a girl, thinking that it was the girl. Those things are crazy things. And so I realized that until I get past all of that, until I get past my past, I cannot be in a relationship. You understand me? And as I said, I admitted myself in hospital. And can I tell you, Bishop, I'm one of the few persons who have gone into a mental institution and not been treated mentally. Because when I went there, the doctor said that, can I give you a joke? When I went there and they asked me, who will visit you and all of that, I said, I have nobody, because of the previous experience in hospital saying, oh, I'm married and everything. I just went undercover. And then when persons started to visit me, they were like, say, oh, she said she didn't have anybody to visit her or whatever. And the amount of person every day I had, visitors had to be turned back. They had appointments for visitors, no days when, if they want to come. And this is what happened also. I was journaling, and I was journaling, and I wrote down some stuff. Day one, Bellevue Hospital, a patient threw a chair. I had to shift my head because I was unable to walk and all that. And eventually they thought I was an undercover investigative journalist. Because naturally, um I felt that I really felt like I was depressed. I had suicidal thoughts. I felt like I had no purpose of living. I was embarrassed by, as I said, the infidelity, the disappointment. I had gone through that, and I thought to myself, okay, let me deal with myself. But can I tell you that all I got was counseling, and most of the times I was the counselor because I was with these psychologists, and they were just, they were asking me questions, and I was answering them and giving them the advice. And so what I realized is that all I needed to do was to apply this. So I had ruled out that yes, everybody suffer from depression, but the manic state of depression you can control, and how you control it. So I learned all those things. I met one of the best professor of psychiatry, Dr. Wendell Abel, who even to this day we have become friends. And what he has done, he pushed me, he propelled me into another niche of counseling and motivational speaking. And Bishop, that took me to another level, because what I found out is that at times we believe that in our own situation, in our own minds, we are the only persons that are going through something. And so we beat up on ourselves, we become hopeless. But when I went out there, I became, I remember I was the keynote speaker at one of the AGM for the Guidance Councils of Association of Jamaica, where the entire cohort of guidance councils across Jamaica would meet, and I was their guest speaker. And can I tell you, Bishop, having done that session, persons were just in tears. Guidance counselors who were trained to do guidance and counseling were just pulling from me, and how I overcame, and the practicality of how I have dealt with life. And I said to them, listen, shutting things up in a box and believing that, okay, it is safe in here will kill you. And that is what I have done. I have opened up. I have broken my alabaster box. It is not sweet perfume, but I have broken it. I am no longer a slave to the fear of what persons are going to say about me, what they're going to think about me. I am the one that has gone through it. And as your book rightly says, and I heard my book is very near to me. I haven't gotten it in my hand as yet, sir, but I got a call to say, as a matter of fact, I just had to stay put today and do some things. I didn't go and get it, but I really wanted to show it to you tonight. But if there's a next time, but I really believe, because the topic of your book, do not hold up the book again, sir. Let me read it. Don't judge me by my scars.
or hold me hostage to my
hold me
past.
hostage to my past. My past is my story. And I'm sure that a lot of persons, as in every area of life, there are persons who are saying, boy, me could have taught them things. But let me tell you, those are the reason why you suffer migraines. Those are the reason why your heart is palpitating. Those are the reason why you cannot have, you cannot trust. Those are the reason why you're not willing to take a leap of faith. Bishop, I was held hostage to my life for years. I was in a box.
So that's where and again, I'm not talking the book, but one of the chapter, it's that not a very long chapter, but it says, um, uh, talk about the scars of conscience. The
Mhm.
scars of conscience. There's one chapter about the scars of conscience, and what the scars of conscience talks about is sometimes you make yourself hostage because of your own
Exactly.
conviction,
Exactly.
and the worst hostage is when you hold yourself hostage,
Yes,
because
it's
when nobody else is around, you're still a hostage. When the doors are open, you're still hostage. When you're down the street, you're still hostage because you hold yourself hostage. So until you release yourself, you will always be an hostage. And there is also the purpose of grace, and when God has forgiven you, you forgive yourself, and you move on. So
and you know what, Bishop? I have an analogy that I saw. I saw this this analogy on social media. It was a situation, but the gentleman who is a motivational speaker, he turned it into an analogy. A snake instinct is to squeeze its prey. Anything that anything he feels is threatened to him, he will attack. And what he does, he has the strength of wrapping and squeezing it. And there was a snake that he was slithering, and he went beside a saw,
I heard that. I heard them. I heard them. I either read or heard about that one.
and he wrapped himself in that saw. And
Hmm.
as long as the saw was felt as if it was hurting him, he was wrapping himself in that as tight as he possibly could. And what out of that analogy, sometimes because we have held ourselves hostage, we have attacked what has happened. Instead of letting it go, we wrap ourselves more tightly, and so that saw would have killed that snake. And I realized that when you have when you are stuck in your past, you are not free to breathe. You are just holding it. It's like you're daily suffocating yourself because you're in defense of your past and what happened to you, instead of just letting yourself loose and being free and moving on.
And that is very unhealthy. That's
Very.
very unhealthy,
You will die like
mentally,
this.
emotionally, psychologically, and physically. That is unhealthy. Actually, and that's one of the reasons why God allows me to do this program, because I have heard people that I've spoken to, who come on this program to talk about their own story, who end up saying that was like therapy.
Touch, yes.
that was
Okay,
like that
yes,
was like
yes,
therapy for me.
yes,
It's
yes.
like it's like I go into rehab, therapy and rehab. I'm able
let
to
let
free
out.
myself, to let go. It's like, and I use an example. My analogy that I would use here in speaking about your story. Some people are scared to talk it because they're embarrassed, as you said, so they don't want people to hear their story.
Who
But
cares?
but there's a reason. There's a reason why your motor vehicle has at least one exhaust pipe that we call muffler. And it's not just a muffler; it's an exhaust pipe, and it's an exhaust pipe to blow off the
Exactly.
what
Everything.
the steam and the and,
Toxic.
and
The
the
toxic.
pressure that's built
Yeah.
in the combustion chamber, because the vehicles run with gas or fire that drives that thing, and so the exhaust pipe, when the compression builds up, he's got to blow it out so that the thing keeps going and moving forward. If there's no if you lock the exhaust pipe, if you lock the exhaust pipe and start that vehicle, chances are the vehicle gonna blow up. It's
Yeah.
gonna blow up because it can't free itself. And I think that's what telling one story, sharing one story is for your own help, it's for your own relief, it's for your own freedom, and at
Yes.
the same time being a blessing
To
to
others.
others, to
Yes.
show others that hey, you can actually
You can
come
get past
through,
your
you
past.
can get past your past, you can come to what you've been through, because
Love that
there's
song.
somebody who's been there deeper than
Yes.
you maybe, and realize that you can actually come out of it.
And
So
even accepting, and even sometimes, as I said, marriages are on the rocks. They are about to get divorced, and they can now correct themselves by looking into themselves and saying, you know what, let me change.
how
You
do
know
we
what?
pause and take a stop and
Yes.
do something
Yes.
different?
Different, let's try again on this term, instead of blaming. Oh, and one of the thing is that nobody likes to take the blame. Nobody likes to say, okay, I am wrong. Everybody likes to throw the blame. And I can tell you, the first one of the first thing I did in healing was, I I mentally, I said, okay, so yes, this happened, but I'm not gonna allow it to hold me captive anymore. I'm letting it go. And the moment I opened up, the moment, one of the hardest thing for me to had to talk about in a bishop was my childhood. And can I tell you, the moment I opened up about it, I got rid of. I used to believe that every man is a predator. I used to believe that I had this kind of instinct that if I see a man beside a child, instantly I would, you know, I would be
and and
triggered.
and, and that's from from your own trauma,
My own trauma. You understand me? Now I am better able to analyze. I am better able to see if and what, instead of just jumping to conclusion, and just because what that does, it doesn't give you, when you can relax, as a there's this video circulating about don't judge quickly, and at the moment you can see something and just jump. And sometimes you hurt people not knowing, you say things people are hurt, you do things people are hurt for the wrong concept, because you had an issue and you believe that, okay, that is the sign, but it's not. So what it has, I am the beneficiary of everything that has happened. It was rough at the moment, and as I said, God would have given me the opportunity. Bishop, I have gotten a new body. As I said, I used to be on every hospital clinic. I was taking 26 tablets a day.
wow.
One of the tablets, the doctor said I'll have to take it for the rest of my life. Bishop, I don't even take Panadols now. And I'm a nurse, and I'm not against
I
medication.
haven't heard the word Panadol in a long time, but Panadol and Fensic, I haven't heard those in a
Offensive, right?
long time.
Caffeinol, caffeinol.
Caffeinol,
But
Panadol,
but
Fensic. Yeah.
I'm just saying that there are some of us, and I am saying us because I was there. I used to be so sick every day. Me sick, Bishop. Me feeling pain here, there, and everywhere. And I would go to doctor, and they would do all these tests. And then sometimes I believe they would just say, "Okay, yes, you have this situation." And honestly, I remember I went to a doctor once, and the doctor gave me a prescription, and on that prescription was metformin. And when I said to the doctor, I said, "Doc, am I diabetic?" And he said, "Why you ask?" I said, "Because metformin is a diabetic medication." He didn't know that I had the knowledge of medication. You know what that doctor said to me, Bishop? He said, he took back the prescription and signed it, and then he ripped it. And I said, "Why did you do that, doctor?" And another one of my god brother was with me, and he said, "Doc, he's a pharmacist." And we backed up the doctor. Do you know what the doctor excuse was? I was overweight. And so he was giving me metformin to lose weight. So
Hmm.
just imagine how many other doctors decide to just give you
And
a
the
medication.
after effect of that, the come, well, you know what, that, yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So I'm saying this to say that a lot of persons, they have to, I have to go to clinic, I have to go to doctor, after this and after that. And I can tell them it is renewing your mind. Because the day I dumped all my medication and I said, God, if I die, I die. I am not taking any more. And I would have attempted suicide and it did not work, Bishop, because one medication that should have killed me or put me to sleep did not make me sleep. And it proved to me that there was purpose in me. No, what is it? Will I go up to my purpose? I learned something the other day. I cannot quote the scripture now, but I was in a Bible study, and the person that was teaching the Bible study, he said, um, God, we are gonna be held accountable for the things, the purpose of our life that we were called for and did not fulfill. And I was shocked. Because here I'm thinking some persons have just held themselves hostage to their past, and they have not fulfilled the purpose of God. They have not allowed their past experiences or their testings to be testimonies, and so they have locked themselves in, and they have strangled themselves and cutting themselves with that saw by wrapping into anger and bitterness and unforgiveness, and that has caused them not to walk in their fulfilled purpose. And I thank God. Bishop, I know we're getting to the end of the program, but you know what I can tell you is that having godly mentors in the body of Christ is what is important in this leg of the journey. With all that's happening around us, where the world has become a classroom, social media has become the norm, everybody is just talking to a screen. Having godly mentors, not people who have not been processed, not people who have not had a testimony, not people who have not had a past that they have overcome, but persons who can be balanced and who can tell you you were wrong, you were right, and still respectfully do that. And that is what the church needs. I look at the nowadays church, and I said, some of the religion, you get baptized, you jump up, that you tired, you speak in tongues, you jump up, you have that high. But what happened to when you get down from that high?
Well, I tell everybody, nobody love jumping more than I do, but when the jumping is over, you need legs to stand on. You
Exactly.
need legs to stand on. Wow. And we haven't gotten to the end of your story.
Okay.
We haven't gotten to the end of your story because we didn't hear about the part of the illness. We didn't hear that part, so we already gone 2 hours and 11 minutes. Believe it or no.
Yes,
So that means we're gonna have to come back somewhere down there. I'm not sure when that is because my calendar is full. Maybe up
I
to
understand.
next couple of months now. My calendar is full. But you never know. Dropouts happen. Dropout
Yes,
happens. Circumstances happen in people's lives. I would make one suggestion on something that you just said though for other people to be careful of um just listening to somebody's testimony in terms of medication, because if people don't have the level of faith and
yes.
conviction, then you might not want to
No,
ignore
I'm
your
not telling
medication.
anybody to do that.
Yeah, I'm just adding that in there
Yes,
that somebody
please.
don't say I'm going home and throw away my medication,
No, 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 no,
because
no, no, no,
you
no,
may
no.
throw away your life as well.
Exactly.
Um,
You
you
have to
know,
use wisdom in everything.
wisdom
We
is
have
the
to use
principal
wisdom.
thing, and maybe God has already inspired the doctor to prescribe your medication because he wants to use your faith along with your medication for your
Yes,
complete healing or your sustainability.
yes,
So just don't get caught up into the emotions and without wisdom, which is the principal thing, and just go
yes.
and throw away your medication. I
No,
would suggest first pray over your medication,
and have them.
ask God to bless them and take them,
And
right? And
remember, remember I testified to Bishop that medications that should have damaged me did not.
didn't
So
damage you,
I'm
right?
right. So I'm not saying that. I'm just sharing for persons that I had gotten to the level of faith where I said, I am depending on God. And as I said, it comes with the renewing of your mind.
Until
Because
you get there, until you're
until you get
convinced that the
there,
Spirit
yes,
release you there, take your
yes,
medication. You could go
yes,
to heaven
please.
taking your medication, right?
And go to your
You
doctors.
can go to heaven, go to doctor, take your medication. You can go to heaven with all of the medication you're taking. They don't affect your soul, right? And they don't make you don't have faith either. I just thought I'd put that in there, right? So I wish I had faith like that, sister. I'll go on trouble. Don't
No,
do it.
no,
Don't
no,
do it.
no, no.
Don't do it. All
You see,
right.
for me, it was unnecessary because
Right.
I was the one inflicting myself. That's what I'm trying
Right.
to say. And if
Right.
you're listening carefully, and if those that are listening, I'm saying that the pain, I used to be in pain all the time. And where's that pain coming? Don't know. I don't beat up myself or anything, but I was in severe pain. But then, as I said, after I start to let go, start to forgive, start to, just, I mean, I forgave my husband to the point where we spoke like, even he's remarried, which is another, and he called me and we talked for length, and so I'm just saying that all of this to say that sometimes the things that holds us hostage is ourselves, and we have to let go and let God.
Wow.
Yes,
God bless you.
thank you so
You are
much.
special.
I believe so. Can I
You
sing that song,
you
Bishop?
you are special. You're not like everybody else. You're not like everybody else.
I want to sing that verse of that song.
What song is that? You're special,
No, 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 no. Empty and broken.
empty and broken. All right.
Empty and broken, I came back to you, a vessel unworthy and soul scarred within. But he did not dismay. He started over again. And God bless the day he didn't throw this clay away, but over and over he mold me and make me into his likeness. He fashioned the clay, a vessel of honor I am today, and all because Jesus didn't throw this clay away.
That's not what he does. He doesn't throw clay away.
Doesn't throw
He
clay away.
doesn't throw clay away. Sometimes the clay is marred in his hand, but he has
Yes.
something else to fashion it into that is pleasing to him. So you might not be your original vessel,
No.
but you can still be a vessel of purpose because
Connect
God can make you over,
again.
and He still loves what He makes over.
Yes.
Still
And
love what He makes over.
have you ever seen that in Japan, I think, Bishop, when they have broken vessels, they actually mend it with gold and it
Hmm.
become masterpieces.
Listen, a lot of us are mended,
Yes.
right? A lot of us are not made over. Some of us are
Yes.
mended, all right?
Broken,
Sometimes
but
we are so shattered that He has to make us over. Some of us are
yes.
just broken, battered, and
Broken, but
bruised.
Yes.
battered and bruised, and he's just gotta reshape us sometimes. Oh my God, we this is this conversation with Marsha Blagrove. It seems like it has no end because I don't think we've ended it yet. But we'll see if there's another opening down the road somewhere. And by the way, my friends, as you have heard, if you have a story that you want to share, don't
Yes.
be afraid. Don't be intimidated. Don't be paralyzed by your history because you may be keeping everything locked up because I don't want nobody to know this because I'll be so embarrassed. But you're killing yourself. You might be killing yourself inside
Yeah.
until you release yourself before you get freedom. You gotta emancipate yourself, set yourself free, and at the same time be a blessing to somebody else.
You know,
Marsha,
the caterpillar bishop, when a caterpillar going into a cocoon, he feeds himself and he wrapped himself in that cocoon, and never you try to open it, because if you open it, you won't get the butterfly. Allow
yeah.
it to open by itself, and then you will see how free and how beautiful.
That thing looked like a piece of wood laying down somewhere, and then just black, dirty, looking like a piece of wood until it matures and
Yes.
comes out. The metamorphosis,
Metamorphosis. I have been through
metamorphosis,
my metamorphosis of life.
metamorphosis. All right, yeah, yeah, yeah. The process of life, or the new beginning, the change, the transition. It's beautiful when it comes out. Be
Yes.
patient with me. God is not through with me yet. When he gets through with me, I
Yeah.
come forward as pure gold. But process could be long, hard, and messy.
Bye.
Amen. But it could be long, hard, and messy. But when it's over,
The
the
end.
glory comes out. Mining coal, mining gold way
Diamond.
down under the ground. Sometimes it's dangerous and it's dirty and messy. And when it has to go through the refiner's fire, it's another process. 7 times through the refiner's fire comes out as
Pure gold.
14 carat pure gold.
Glistening.
So
Shiny.
wow.
Yes.
Thank you for joining me again,
Thank you
Sister
for having me.
Marsha.
Thank
I
you
don't
for
think this. I don't think this is the end of our conversation. If the Lord tarries and spares me and spare you, I'm
yes.
sure we will talk again. She's planning, or she's begin to write her book.
Yes.
I don't know. That's gonna be one book.
Yes.
That's gonna be one book. If she's
Maybe
gonna be
two.
it, well, maybe part one, part two, edition, first edition, second edition. If
Well,
you don't want to look like a library book, like
right.
a doctor's manual, so maybe get
Art
the
to
too thick.
read.
Too
Art to
too thick. Nobody want to take it up. So do it in segments, right?
read.
Eh,
Tickets. Yes,
First
sir.
edition, second edition. My friends, thank you for joining me. I hope that we will talk again another time.
I hope so too. And thank you so much, Bishop. I know it was just, it was you didn't, as you said, you don't know me, and but recommendations, and I thank all those who have referred and recommend and have spoke very highly about me. I think I'm walking in the favor of God. Hearts are being healed, persons are being delivered, persons are being blessed, encouraged, strengthened. And it is my purpose to walk in the will of God and to do what He has purposed in my life to do. And so, thank you for inviting me. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you for giving me this audience. And I bless your program, and I pray that doors will be open and others will come on and share also. It's a good work that you're doing. Thank you for answering the call and doing it.
Thank you so much. And you're not gonna. I think you went away last week. Did you? I think
Yes, I did.
You went out before I said goodbye. So you don't. You're gonna go off like how we came on.
Okay,
All
sir,
right. So
no problem.
we're gonna say goodbye to everybody else, and then when we get offline, we're gonna talk
Okay.
afterwards. So don't go
Okay.
away.
Okay, sir.
My friends.
God bless you all.
Thank you for joining me again. Stay connected and look out for Marsha's book when she releases it. I look forward to reading that book when it comes out. And something I want to say: the good thing about programs like this, and it's live on Facebook, YouTube, and
Yes. And
and
going
and
on.
it's and it's not going anywhere.
No.
It's not going anywhere as long as these platforms remain.
Yes.
They can
Yes.
always go back and find you and find your story and share your story and listen your story 1,000 times and share it to 100 people if they know that it will be a blessing to them. Another thing about stories is that you only heaven will record
Yes.
the impact that somebody's story will have on
Has.
the life of somebody else.
Yeah.
When you get to heaven, you might be surprised when you get reward at the judgment seat of Christ, when you're getting your rewards, and God said, I'm giving you this crown of
Hallelujah.
rejoicing or this crown of glory because you have impacted somebody's life. You have changed somebody's life. You have caused somebody to internalize their own situation and turn their lives around. And as a result of that, I have a reward for you. And you might be surprised when they get to him and say, God, how did I, when did I? And say, okay, he remind you. As a matter of fact, he won't remind you because back then you'll have a perfect mind. So,
Yes.
the things that you don't know now, you will know then when the you know in part now, understand in part and everything. But when that which in part is done away, then that which is perfect shall come in. And then when you get the mind like Christ, then the things you
Hallelujah.
don't understand now,
Glory to
the finiteness of your mind will be gone, and then you'll have infinite
infinite.
wisdom,
Woo!
knowledge, and understanding.
Hallelujah.
You shall be like him. Thank you for
Hallelujah.
joining us, my friends. If you have a story, don't be afraid to share it. The door is open. Email me at orbminister@gmail.com. I'd be more than happy to put you on my calendar so we can plan to share your story. And by the way, don't forget to get a copy of Don't Judge Me by My Scars or Hold Me Hostage to My Past. If you're in the United States or any of its territories, you can get an autographed copy from me directly with my autograph in it. Outside of the United States and other territories, you can get it from Amazon or your local bookstore. I look forward to having you next time on Let's Talk with the Doc. Until then, my friends, take the best care of yourselves. Be good,
Thanks to
be
all our
strong,
viewing audience, Sister Powell, all who have joined on. Thank you so much. God bless
and
you all.
and there's a saying that if you can't be good,
Be
be careful.
careful.
All right.
Yes.
Until then, have yourselves a great night. You can still share the program. Once I say good night, you can share the program, go back and listen and share it with your friends and family because it might be a source of inspiration. You might save a marriage, you might save a relationship, you might save a life, you might save a soul. God bless you. I'll see you again. You stay there, Sister Mars. Well, thank you for checking in on ORB Ministries. I trust that you will share with your friends, subscribe, hit the bell for notification, and stay tuned because you never know what's next or who will join the conversation.